The glass slipped from my hand and shattered near my feet, but no one reacted as loudly as the silence inside my chest when Emily said, "Jason, we need to talk." I looked at her across the table, candles flickering between us like they were mocking me. "We are talking," I said, forcing a smile. "What's wrong?" She didn't answer right away. Her fingers tightened around her purse, and she kept glancing toward the entrance. That was the first moment something felt off. "Emily," I said softly, "look at me." She finally did, but there was no warmth left in her eyes. "I think we want different things," she said, her voice steady, too steady. I blinked, trying to process it. "Different things," I repeated. "Since when?" Before she could answer, I felt someone step beside our table. I turned my head, and there he was, Ryan Steele, perfectly dressed, calm, confident, like he had already won something I didn't know I was competing for. He placed his hand lightly on Emily's waist, and she didn't move away. That small detail hit harder than anything she said. "What is this?" I asked, my voice lower now. Ryan gave a polite smile. "I think she's trying to tell you," he said. I ignored him and kept my eyes on Emily. "Say it clearly," I told her. "Don't hide behind words." She took a breath. "I can't keep living like this, Jason." "Like what?" I asked. "Like we've been building something real?" She shook her head slightly. "No, like we're stuck." I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "Stuck," I said. 3 years together and you call that stuck?" Ryan's hand tightened on her waist, and I noticed how comfortable she looked standing next to him. That image burned into my mind. "So that's it?" I asked, my voice quieter now. 3 years, gone?" Emily hesitated, but not enough. "I need stability," she said. "I need a future." That word hit me like a blade. "A future?" I repeated. "And I'm not part of that?" She didn't answer directly. Instead, she looked at Ryan for a second, and that was all I needed. "Wow," I muttered, leaning back slightly. "So this is about money." "It's not just that," she said quickly. "Then what is it?" I pushed. "Tell me something I don't already see." Ryan stepped forward a little. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," he said. I finally looked at him properly. "Stay out of this," I said calmly. "This doesn't concern you." He smirked. "It does now." I stood up slowly, ignoring the way people around us started noticing. "Emily," I said, keeping my voice steady, "look at me and tell me you don't love me anymore." She froze. For a second I saw doubt in her eyes. Then she whispered, "It's not enough." Those 3 words crushed whatever hope I still had. I nodded slowly. "Not enough," I repeated under my breath. "Got it?" There was a long pause. I could feel my chest tightening, but I refused to let it show. "You could have told me," I said. "You didn't have to do this, like this." "I didn't want to hurt you," she replied quietly. I let out a dry laugh. "You didn't want to hurt me?" I said. "Emily, you brought him here." She looked away again. That hurt more than anything. "So what now?" I asked. "You just walk away?" Ryan answered before she could. "That's usually how it works." I stepped closer to him, just enough to make him uncomfortable. "Careful," I said softly. "This isn't your moment." Then I turned back to her. "Is this what you really want?" I asked. "No pressure. No him. Just you." She swallowed, then nodded. "Yes." That was it. No hesitation this time. Just a clean, final answer. I stared at her for a few seconds, letting it sink in. Every memory, every promise, every late-night conversation weighed nothing now. "All right," I said finally. My voice surprised even me. It was calm. Too calm. "Then I hope he gives you everything you think you deserve." Emily's eyes flickered with something, guilt maybe, but it disappeared quickly. Ryan gave a small, satisfied smile. I didn't look at him again. I reached for my jacket, then paused for a second. "You know," I said, glancing back at her, "I really thought you were different." She didn't respond. I nodded once. "That's on me." And then I walked away. Each step felt heavier than the last, but I didn't stop. I didn't look back. Not once. Outside, the cold air hit my face, but it didn't compare to what I felt inside. Daniel called me right then. I stared at my phone for a second before answering. "Hey man, where are you?" he asked. I exhaled slowly. "It's over," I said. There was silence on the other end. "What do you mean?" he asked. "I mean she chose someone else," I replied. "Just like that?" he said. "Yeah," I answered quietly. "Just like that." He cursed under his breath. "You okay?" I looked up at the night sky, my jaw tightening. "No," I said honestly. But I will be. You want me to come? He asked. I shook my head even though he couldn't see me. No, I said. Not tonight. All right, he said after a pause. Call me if you need anything. I will, I replied, then ended the call. I stood there alone for a moment, letting everything settle. The pain was sharp, but underneath it, something else was forming. Something colder. Something stronger. I clenched my fists slightly and whispered to myself, this isn't the end. And in that moment I realized something important. That night wasn't just a breakup. It was the moment I stopped being invisible. The next morning I walked into Carter Technologies like nothing had happened, but everything inside me felt different. The lobby lights were bright, the same polished floors, the same familiar faces, yet I felt like I was seeing it all for the first time. Lisa Grant looked up from the front desk and smiled. Good morning, Jason, Lisa Grant said. You're early today. I nodded slightly. Yeah, couldn't sleep much. Lisa Grant tilted her head. Everything okay? I gave a small shrug. Just work on my mind. Lisa Grant didn't push, just smiled again and went back to typing. I walked past the glass walls, my reflection staring back at me, same face, same suit, same quiet guy everyone ignored. But inside something had shifted. People thought I was just another employee, quiet, average, replaceable. Even Emily Parker believed that. That was the part that almost made me laugh. Almost. I stepped into the elevator, pressing the button for my floor. As the doors closed, my phone buzzed. Daniel Reed. I answered. You alive? Daniel Reed asked. I leaned back slightly. Barely, I said. Daniel Reed exhaled. I still can't believe Emily Parker did that. Believe it, I replied. It's real. There was a pause. So what now? Daniel Reed asked. I looked at my reflection again in the metal wall. Now, I work. Daniel Reed let out a short laugh. That's your plan? Just work. Not just work, I said quietly. Something else. You're scaring me a little, Daniel Reed said. Good, I replied. I should. The elevator doors opened and I stepped out into the office. The first thing I saw was Emily Parker. She was standing near the conference area, laughing. And Ryan Steele was right beside her, saying something that made her smile wider. She looked happy. Like last night meant nothing. I slowed down for a second just watching. Daniel Reed's voice came through the phone. You still there? Yeah, I said quietly. I just saw her. Where? Daniel Reed asked. Here, I answered. Already moved on. Daniel Reed went silent. I ended the call without another word. I walked past them. Not fast. Not slow. Just steady. Emily Parker didn't even look at me. Not once. That hit harder than anything she said last night. Ryan Steele noticed me though. Ryan Steele gave me a quick glance, then leaned closer to Emily Parker, whispering something that made her laugh again. I kept walking. I didn't stop. I didn't react. But inside I felt something cold settle in. Jason Carter, a voice called from behind. I turned slightly. Kevin Moore jogged up to me. Hey Jason Carter, Kevin Moore said, slightly out of breath. Did you finish that report? I nodded. Sent it last night. Kevin Moore grinned. Man, you're a machine. I gave a faint smile. Something like that. Kevin Moore looked past me for a second. You okay? Kevin Moore asked. You seem different. I held his gaze for a moment. Maybe I am. Kevin Moore didn't know what to say, so Kevin Moore just nodded. Well, if I can ever be half as calm as you, I'll be happy. I almost laughed at that. Come. If only Kevin Moore knew. I walked into my office, closing the door behind me. The silence hit instantly. I sat down slowly, resting my hands on the desk. For a moment, I just stared at the city outside the window. Cars moving. People rushing. Life continuing like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. A knock came at the door. Come in, I said. Marcus Carter stepped inside, sharp suit, serious expression. You're here early, Marcus Carter said. I nodded. Couldn't stay home. Marcus Carter studied me for a second. I heard about last night. I looked at him. Of course you did. Marcus Carter walked closer. You want me to handle Ryan Steele? Marcus Carter asked. I shook my head immediately. No, Marcus Carter raised an eyebrow. No. No, I repeated. Not like that. Marcus Carter crossed his arms. Then what? I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. I'm done being invisible. Marcus Carter's expression shifted slightly. Took you long enough, Marcus Carter said. I smirked faintly. Yeah, I guess it did. Marcus Carter walked around the desk, lowering his voice. You want to step in? Marcus Carter asked. Fully? I looked at my hands for a second, then back at him. Not yet, I said. But soon. Marcus Carter nodded once. All right. Then we do it your way. After Marcus Carter left, I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the desk. Daniel Reed's question echoed in my mind. Why hide who you are? Because people show their real faces when they think you're nothing. Emily Parker showed hers. Ryan Steele showed his. Everyone did. I stood up slowly, walking toward the window. The city stretched out in front of me, endless and loud. I won't chase her, I said quietly to myself. The words felt solid. Real. I won't beg. My reflection stared back at me again. Same man. Different mindset. I'll rise, I whispered. And this time, I meant it. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I didn't even look back at what I lost. The next few days I walked into the office like nothing had changed, but everything had. I stopped reacting. I started observing. And then, I started moving. Quietly. Carefully. Piece by piece. You've been quiet, Daniel Reed said over the phone. I leaned back in my chair. I've always been quiet, I replied. No, Daniel Reed said, this is different. This is calculated. I smiled slightly. Maybe I finally learned something. There was a pause. You're planning something, aren't you? Daniel Reed asked. Not planning, I said softly. Positioning. Ryan Steele walked past my desk later that morning, talking loudly like he owned the place. Don't worry, Ryan Steele said to someone on the phone. I'll close the deal by Friday. I didn't even look up. I just listened. That deal required approval. My approval. I opened my laptop and reviewed the file. Weak structure. Overpromised numbers. Risk hidden under polished words. I clicked once and delayed it. No rejection. No warning. Just delay. Hey, Kevin Moore said, stepping closer. Ryan Steele seems confident about that deal. I nodded slightly. Confidence doesn't mean capability, I replied. Kevin Moore frowned. You think something's wrong? I closed the file calmly. I think we'll see soon enough. Marcus Carter stepped into my office that afternoon, closing the door behind him. You've started, Marcus Carter said. I didn't look surprised. I told you I would, I replied. Marcus Carter studied me carefully. You didn't approve Ryan Steele's deal. I leaned back slightly. I didn't reject it either. Marcus Carter smirked. Smart. I met his gaze. I'm not here to destroy him, I said. I'm just removing the ground under his feet. Marcus Carter nodded slowly. You're finally thinking like an owner. I exhaled quietly. No, I said. I'm just done being underestimated. Over the next few days things started shifting. Small things. Invisible things. The kind people don't notice until it's too late. Ryan Steele's meeting got postponed. Then another one. Then a client requested revisions. This doesn't make sense, Ryan Steele snapped one afternoon, pacing near the conference room. I walked past him without stopping. Problems? I asked calmly. Ryan Steele looked at me, annoyed. Nothing you'd understand, Ryan Steele said. I gave a slight nod. Maybe not, I replied and kept walking. Emily Parker started noticing too. I could feel it. The way Emily Parker looked at me during meetings, like something didn't add up. Jason Carter, Emily Parker called out one afternoon. I stopped and turned. Yeah, I said. Emily Parker hesitated for a second. Have you noticed anything strange lately? I tilted my head slightly. Strange how? I asked. Emily Parker glanced toward Ryan Steele's office. Things just keep going wrong. I held her gaze for a moment. That happens, I said calmly. Sometimes people promise more than they can handle. Emily Parker narrowed her eyes slightly. You sound like you know something. I gave a faint smile. I know how things work, I replied. Later that evening, I was still at my desk when Olivia Brooks walked in. Olivia Brooks didn't knock. Olivia Brooks just stood there, arms crossed, watching me. You're not who you pretend to be, are you? Olivia Brooks said. I looked up slowly. What makes you say that? I asked. Olivia Brooks stepped closer. Because I've been watching you, Olivia Brooks said. You don't react. You don't panic. And somehow, every problem finds its way to you and then it disappears. I leaned back slightly, considering my answer. Maybe I just do my job well, I said. Olivia Brooks shook her head. No, Olivia Brooks said. This is something else. There was a silence between us. Not uncomfortable. Just sharp. So what do you think this is? I asked. Olivia Brooks held my gaze. I think you're in control, Olivia Brooks said quietly. More than anyone realizes. I smiled slightly. Not denying it. Not confirming it. Just acknowledging the thought. Not yet, I said. Olivia Brooks raised an eyebrow. Not yet. I nodded once. Soon, I replied. Olivia Brooks studied me for a second longer, then let out a small breath. Whoever you really are, Olivia Brooks said, Ryan Steele has no idea what's coming. I stood up slowly, grabbing my jacket. That's the point, I said. Olivia Brooks watched me walk toward the door. Jason Carter, Olivia Brooks called out. I paused. Yeah, I said. Olivia Brooks gave a slight smile. This should be interesting. I stepped out into the hallway, the office lights dimmer now as people started leaving. Ryan Steele was still inside the conference room, arguing with someone over the phone. Emily Parker stood outside, arms crossed, clearly frustrated. I walked past both of them without stopping. This time, Emily Parker noticed. I felt it. That slight shift. That moment of awareness. Good. I didn't need noise. I didn't need revenge in the way people expected. I just needed control. And now, I had it. The game hadn't exploded. It had started quietly. Exactly the way I wanted. Emily's perfect life started cracking faster than I expected, and I didn't have to lift my voice once. I just watched. Quiet. Patient. Precise. Ryan Steele wasn't smiling anymore. The confident tone, the loud promises, the constant control, it all started slipping. Meetings got tense. Calls got louder. Deadlines got missed. I stood near the hallway one evening when I heard Emily Parker's voice rise from inside the conference room. You said you had control. Emily Parker snapped. There was a sharp pause, then Ryan Steele replied, I do. Something's interfering. I leaned slightly against the wall, listening. Then fix it. Emily Parker said, frustration clear in every word. I'm trying, Ryan Steele shot back. This isn't as simple as you think. I almost laughed right there, but I kept my expression neutral. That something Ryan Steele was blaming was me. I stepped away before either of them could notice, my footsteps quiet against the floor. Later, Kevin Moore caught up to me near the break area. Jason Carter, Kevin Moore said, shaking his head slightly, how do you stay so calm? I glanced at Kevin Moore. What do you mean? I asked. Kevin Moore shrugged. Everything's kind of falling apart around here and Jason Carter just stays steady. I gave a faint smile. Not everything needs a reaction, I said. Kevin Moore looked impressed. I wish I could be like that, Kevin Moore admitted. I nodded once. You will be, I replied, though I knew Kevin Moore had no idea what I was actually holding inside. The next few days only made things worse for Ryan Steele. I saw it in the way Ryan Steele walked. Faster, sharper, less controlled. I saw it in the way emails piled up unanswered, in the way meetings dragged longer than they should. And I saw it most clearly in Emily Parker. Emily Parker wasn't glowing anymore. The excitement was gone, replaced with tension that showed in small moments. Emily Parker started noticing me again. Not the way Emily Parker used to look at me, but differently. Carefully. Like trying to solve something. One afternoon, Emily Parker stopped me near the hallway. Jason Carter, Emily Parker said, her voice softer than usual, can I ask you something? I looked at Emily Parker calmly. Sure, I replied. Emily Parker hesitated, then asked, have you noticed anything off lately? I tilted my head slightly. Off how? I asked. Emily Parker glanced toward Ryan Steele's office before speaking again. Things keep going wrong, Emily Parker said quietly. Deals, meetings, everything. It doesn't make sense. I held Emily Parker's gaze for a second. Sometimes, I said, keeping my voice even, people think they're in control when they're really not. Emily Parker frowned slightly. That sounds like you know more than you're saying. I let a small smile form. Maybe I just pay attention, I replied. Emily Parker studied my face like Emily Parker was searching for something hidden underneath. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Emily Parker asked, Jason Carter, are you okay? The question caught me off guard, but I didn't show it. I'm fine, I said. Better than fine. Emily Parker nodded slowly, but the confusion didn't leave Emily Parker's eyes. That confusion stayed. I could feel it every time Emily Parker looked at me after that. Not love. Not regret. Just realization beginning to form. Later that evening, I passed by Ryan Steele again, pacing near the conference room with a phone pressed to Ryan Steele's ear. "I don't care what it takes," Ryan Steele was saying, voice sharp. "Just fix it." Emily Parker stood a few steps away, arms crossed, clearly frustrated. I walked past both of them without stopping, but this time Emily Parker noticed. I felt it. That slight shift in the air. That awareness. Kevin Moore's words echoed in my mind. "I wish I could be like you, calm under pressure." I almost smiled again. Calm wasn't the right word. Controlled was. Everything happening around Ryan Steele wasn't random. It wasn't luck. It was structure. It was timing. It was pressure applied in the right places. And Emily Parker was starting to see the cracks. Not just in Ryan Steele's world, but in the choice Emily Parker made. I didn't need to say anything. I didn't need to explain anything. The truth was already showing itself, piece by piece. I walked toward the exit, hands in my pockets, expression steady. Behind me, voices were still rising, arguments still building. But ahead of me, everything felt clear. This wasn't revenge the way most people understood it. This was something quieter. Something deeper. I wasn't breaking their world in one moment. I was letting it collapse slowly. And the best part was, they were watching it happen without understanding why. The email went out early that morning, and within minutes, the entire office felt different. Mandatory leadership meeting. All senior staff required. I read it twice, then leaned back in my chair. This was it. The moment I had been building toward without saying a word. My phone buzzed and Marcus Carter's name appeared. I answered immediately. "It's time," Marcus Carter said without hesitation. I stayed quiet for a second. "Are you sure?" I asked. Marcus Carter didn't hesitate. "You've waited long enough," Marcus Carter replied. I exhaled slowly, feeling something shift inside me. "All right," I said. "Then we do it today." Marcus Carter's tone softened slightly. "You ready to stop hiding?" Marcus Carter asked. I looked around my office, the same space where I had spent years being invisible. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm ready." I ended the call and stood up, adjusting my jacket. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't walking into the office as the quiet employee. I was walking in as the man who owned everything around me. When I stepped into the boardroom, conversations were already happening. People were seated, papers spread across the table, quiet discussions filling the air. Emily Parker was there, sitting near the center, flipping through documents. Ryan Steele stood near the head of the table, speaking confidently to a few executives. Ryan Steele didn't notice me at first. No one did. I walked in calmly, closing the door behind me with a soft click. A few heads turned, but most people went back to their conversations. Just another employee walking in late, that's what they thought. I didn't say anything. I didn't greet anyone. I just walked forward, step by step, straight toward the main seat at the head of the table. The seat Ryan Steele had been standing beside like it belonged to him. Ryan Steele noticed me when I reached it. "Hey," Ryan Steele said, frowning slightly. "That seat's..." I didn't respond. I simply pulled the chair back and sat down. The room went quiet. Not instantly, but slowly, like a wave spreading outward. Conversations stopped one by one. Papers lowered. Eyes turned toward me. I rested my hands calmly on the table, meeting the silence without reacting. Emily Parker looked up first. The moment our eyes met, I saw it. Confusion. Then doubt. Then something sharper. "Jason?" Emily Parker said softly. Ryan Steele straightened immediately. "What is this?" Ryan Steele demanded, stepping closer. I leaned back slightly in the chair, completely at ease. "Good question," I said. Ryan Steele looked around the room. "Why is Jason Carter sitting there?" Ryan Steele asked, voice rising. No one answered. That was the part Ryan Steele didn't understand yet. This wasn't confusion. This was awareness. Marcus Carter walked in, then closing the door behind him. The room shifted again. Marcus Carter didn't look at anyone else. Marcus Carter just looked at me. "We can begin," Marcus Carter said calmly. Ryan Steele turned sharply. "Begin what?" Ryan Steele asked. Marcus Carter didn't respond to Ryan Steele. Marcus Carter took a seat beside me instead. That's when it started to click for people. I could see it in their expressions. In the way they sat up straighter. In the way no one questioned my position anymore. Emily Parker's face had gone pale. "Jason Carter," Emily Parker whispered, barely audible. Ryan Steele looked between Marcus Carter and me, frustration building. "Can someone explain what's going on?" Ryan Steele demanded. I leaned forward slightly, finally giving Ryan Steele my full attention. "You wanted an explanation," I said calmly. Ryan Steele nodded sharply. Yeah, I do. I held his gaze without blinking. I think it's time you understood who you've been working for, I said. The words landed heavier than I expected. The room didn't just go quiet, it froze. Ryan Steele stared at me, disbelief written across his face. That's not funny, Ryan Steele said after a second. I didn't smile. I didn't move. Marcus Carter spoke instead. It's not a joke, Marcus Carter said. Ryan Steele shook his head slightly. No, that doesn't make sense, Ryan Steele said. I rested my hands on the table again. It doesn't have to make sense to you, I replied. It just has to be true. Emily Parker was still staring at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. Jason Carter, you? Emily Parker couldn't finish the sentence. I looked at her for a brief moment. Yeah, I said quietly. That was enough. Ryan Steele stepped back slightly, processing everything. So all this time, Ryan Steele muttered. You were? I nodded once. Yes, I said. Ryan Steele let out a breath, running a hand through his hair. The confidence was gone. Completely gone. Why didn't you say anything? Ryan Steele asked. I tilted my head slightly. Would it have changed anything? I asked. Ryan Steele didn't answer. Because Ryan Steele knew the answer already. No, it wouldn't have. That was the point. Around the table, people were still silent, but the energy had shifted completely. Respect replaced indifference. Awareness replaced ignorance. I stood up slowly, looking around the room. Let's get started, I said. No one questioned me. No one interrupted. For the first time, they saw me. Not as someone replaceable. Not as someone invisible. But as the man who had been in control the entire time. And just like that, everything changed. The silence after my words didn't fade. It deepened like the entire room forgot how to breathe. I could see it clearly in Emily Parker's eyes. Confusion. Something breaking all at once. Jason, you own this company? Emily Parker asked, voice barely steady. I nodded calmly, keeping my gaze on Emily Parker. Yes, I said. Ryan Steele let out a short laugh, shaking his head. No, this is ridiculous, Ryan Steele said. This has to be some kind of joke. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Marcus Carter stepped forward, voice firm. It's not a joke, Marcus Carter said. Everything you've heard is correct. Ryan Steele looked around the room like someone would deny it, like someone would save Ryan Steele from the truth. No one did. One of the board members cleared a throat. Jason Carter has always been the primary owner, the board member said. Marcus Carter manages operations, but final authority belongs to Jason Carter. Ryan Steele's face changed instantly. The confidence was gone. Completely gone. Emily Parker still hadn't moved. I don't understand, Emily Parker whispered. I leaned forward slightly. What part? I asked. Emily Parker shook Emily Parker's head slowly. All of it, Emily Parker said. You were just working here. Quiet. Normal. I let out a small breath. That was the point, I replied. Ryan Steele ran a hand through Ryan Steele's hair, pacing once before stopping. So all those approvals, all those decisions, Ryan Steele muttered. I met Ryan Steele's eyes. Came through me, I said. Ryan Steele stared at me, disbelief turning into frustration. Why didn't you say anything? Ryan Steele asked. I tilted my head slightly. Would you have treated me differently? I asked. Ryan Steele didn't answer. The silence said enough. Emily Parker finally looked directly at me again, and this time there was something else there. Not just shock. Not just confusion. Regret. Jason Carter? Emily Parker started, then stopped like the words wouldn't come out. I waited. I wasn't in a hurry anymore. Why didn't you tell me? Emily Parker asked softly. That question lingered in the air longer than anything else. I looked at Emily Parker for a moment, then answered honestly. Because I wanted to see if you'd stay without the money, I said. The words hit harder than I expected. Emily Parker flinched slightly, like something inside had just snapped. That's not fair, Emily Parker whispered. I raised an eyebrow. No. I asked. 3 years wasn't enough time to figure that out? Emily Parker opened Emily Parker's mouth, then closed it again. No answer. Just silence. Ryan Steele scoffed under Ryan Steele's breath, trying to recover something. So what, you've been playing some kind of game this whole time? Ryan Steele asked. I looked at Ryan Steele calmly. No, I said. I've been watching. Ryan Steele clenched Ryan Steele's jaw. You could have stopped everything, Ryan Steele said. You could have said something. I leaned back slightly. And missed the chance to see how things really work? I replied. Ryan Steele didn't like that answer. I could see it. The anger was there, but there was nothing Ryan Steele could do with it anymore. That was the difference now. Before, Ryan Steele had power. Now Ryan Steele had nothing. Around the table, the board members were watching closely, but no one interrupted. They didn't need to. The shift had already happened. I stood up slowly, my movements calm, controlled. Let's focus, I said. We have work to do. No one questioned me. Not a single person. The same people who barely noticed me before were now waiting for me to speak. That was the part that mattered. Not the reveal. Not the shock. The control. Emily Parker was still looking at me like trying to understand something that didn't fit anymore. Jason Carter. I didn't know, Emily Parker said quietly. I nodded once. Exactly, I replied. That was all I needed to say. Ryan Steele sat down slowly, the earlier confidence completely gone. This changes things, Ryan Steele muttered. I looked at Ryan Steele directly. It already has, I said. Ryan Steele didn't respond. For a moment, the room was silent again, but this time it wasn't confusion. It was acceptance. Reality settling in. The truth didn't need explanation anymore. It was clear. Emily Parker lowered Emily Parker's gaze slightly, and I saw it again. That realization. That understanding. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet. Heavy. Final. I turned away from Emily Parker and looked around the table instead. We're moving forward, I said. And from this point on, everything runs through me. No one argued. No one questioned. That silence was louder than any apology Emily Parker could have given. Ryan Steele's fall didn't come slowly. It came all at once, like everything holding Ryan Steele up finally gave way. I sat quietly in the meeting room as reports were laid out one after another. Numbers. Failed deals. Broken contracts. Every mistake Ryan Steele made was no longer hidden behind confidence or excuses. These decisions were approved under Ryan Steele's supervision, one executive said firmly. Ryan Steele shifted in the seat, clearly uncomfortable. Those weren't entirely my fault, Ryan Steele replied quickly. I watched without interrupting. Mr. Harrison Cole leaned forward slightly, hands folded. Responsibility doesn't disappear just because things go wrong, Mr. Harrison Cole said. The room stayed silent. Ryan Steele tried again. I was dealing with interference, Ryan Steele said, voice tense. I almost smiled but kept my face neutral. Mr. Harrison Cole didn't react to that excuse. We don't reward arrogance here, Mr. Harrison Cole said calmly. That line landed harder than anything else. Ryan Steele froze for a second, like the meaning hit all at once. Are you saying, Ryan Steele started but didn't finish? Mr. Harrison Cole nodded slightly. Ryan Steele is no longer in a leadership position, Mr. Harrison Cole said. Just like that. No hesitation. No debate. Final. Ryan Steele looked around the room, searching for support, but no one spoke. No one defended Ryan Steele. That silence said everything. I stayed where I was, hands resting calmly, watching it unfold exactly the way I knew it would. This is ridiculous, Ryan Steele muttered, standing up abruptly. After everything I've done? Mr. Harrison Cole didn't raise the voice. After everything Ryan Steele has done, Mr. Harrison Cole corrected. We've reviewed the results. Ryan Steele clenched the jaw. You can't just take everything away, Ryan Steele said. I finally spoke, my voice steady. It was never yours to begin with, I said. Ryan Steele turned toward me immediately. This is because of Jason Carter, isn't it? Ryan Steele snapped. I held the gaze without emotion. This is because of your choices, I replied. Ryan Steele didn't have anything left to say after that. Not because Ryan Steele didn't want to, but because there was nothing left to argue. The truth had already settled in the room. Ryan Steele's position. Ryan Steele's reputation. Everything that once made Ryan Steele untouchable was gone. Later, as the meeting ended and people began leaving, I stepped out into the hallway, finally alone for a moment. The air felt different. Lighter. Like something I had been carrying for a long time had finally disappeared. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to destroy Ryan Steele myself. Karma had done it better than I ever could. Every decision Ryan Steele made led to this moment. Every choice built the fall. And now it was over. Jason Carter, I heard the voice behind me before I turned. Emily Parker. I paused, then faced Emily Parker calmly. Emily Parker looked different now. Not confident. Not certain. Just unsure. Can we talk? Emily Parker asked softly. I studied Emily Parker for a second, then nodded once. Go ahead, I said. Emily Parker took a small step closer. Jason Carter. I made a mistake, Emily Parker said, voice almost breaking. I didn't react immediately. I let the words settle between us. Then I spoke, my tone calm but firm. No, I said. Emily Parker looked at me confused. No. Emily Parker repeated. I shook my head slightly. You made a choice, I said. Emily Parker's expression changed, like the difference hit deeper than expected. That's not the same thing, Emily Parker said quietly. I held the gaze. It is, I replied. A mistake is something you don't understand. A choice is something you decide. Emily Parker didn't respond right away. I could see the weight of those words settling in. I thought, Emily Parker started then stopped. I thought I was choosing a better future, Emily Parker admitted. I nodded slightly. And you did, I said. Emily Parker frowned. That doesn't sound like what you mean, Emily Parker said. I gave a faint, almost distant smile. You chose what you believed was better, I clarified. That doesn't make it right. Emily Parker looked down for a moment, then back at me. Is there any chance, Emily Parker began. I didn't let the sentence finish. No, I said simply. The word wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was final. Emily Parker's shoulders dropped slightly, like something inside finally gave up. I didn't know, Emily Parker said again, softer this time. I stepped back just a little, creating space between us. That was the point, I replied. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The hallway was quiet, but not empty. People passed by in the distance, unaware of the moment happening between us. Emily Parker looked at me one last time. I'm sorry, Emily Parker said. I nodded once. I know, I replied. And I meant it. But it didn't change anything. Emily Parker turned and walked away slowly, and I didn't stop Emily Parker. I didn't call out. I didn't feel the need to. For the first time, I wasn't holding on to anything anymore. Not the past. Not the pain. Not the questions. I stood there for a second, then let out a slow breath. And for the first time, I felt free. Emily Parker didn't stop trying after that day. Every time I thought things had finally settled, Emily Parker found another reason to stand in front of me again. Jason Carter, please, just listen, Emily Parker said one afternoon, catching up to me near the office exit. I stopped, not because I wanted to, but because I didn't feel the need to avoid anything anymore. I'm listening, I said calmly. Emily Parker took a breath, like gathering courage. I didn't know who Jason Carter really was, Emily Parker said. I nodded once, already knowing where this was going. Exactly, I replied. Emily Parker frowned slightly. That's not what I mean, Emily Parker said. I tilted my head. Then what do you mean? I asked. Emily Parker looked frustrated, like struggling to explain something that didn't sound right even to Emily Parker. I didn't know you were all of this, Emily Parker said, gesturing slightly toward the building around us. I let out a small breath. You didn't know because you never looked, I said. Emily Parker went quiet for a second. That silence again. It kept coming back between us. Later that day, I overheard something I wasn't meant to hear. I was walking past the lounge when I heard Sophia Bennett's voice. Emily Parker, you lost Jason Carter because you only saw money, Sophia Bennett said firmly. I paused just outside, not stepping in. Emily Parker's voice came softer. That's not true, Emily Parker said, but it didn't sound convincing. Then why did Emily Parker leave? Sophia Bennett asked. There was no immediate answer. Because I thought I was choosing something better, Emily Parker said after a moment. Sophia Bennett sighed. No, Sophia Bennett said. Emily Parker chose what looked better. That's not the same thing. I didn't stay long enough to hear more. I didn't need to. The truth had already been said. Not by me. By someone Emily Parker trusted. That evening as I was leaving the building, Emily Parker was waiting again. This time, Emily Parker didn't try to pretend everything was okay. Jason Carter, please, Emily Parker said, voice already shaking. I stopped a few steps away, giving space but not turning away. What is it? I asked. Emily Parker took a step closer, then another. I can't fix this, can I? Emily Parker asked. I looked at Emily Parker quietly. No, I said. The honesty hurt more than anything else I could have said. Emily Parker's eyes filled slightly, but Emily Parker didn't look away. I loved Jason Carter, Emily Parker said suddenly. The words came out fast, like they had been building up for too long. I didn't answer right away. I just stood there, letting the weight of that sentence settle between us. For a moment, everything felt still. Then I spoke. Maybe you did, I said slowly. Emily Parker looked at me, hope flickering for just a second. But I didn't stop there. But not enough, I added. The hope disappeared instantly. Emily Parker's expression broke in a way I hadn't seen before. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just quiet pain. That's not fair, Emily Parker whispered. I shook my head slightly. It is, I replied. If it was enough, you wouldn't have left. Emily Parker didn't argue. That was the difference now. Before, there were explanations. Excuses. Now there was only truth. Emily Parker wiped at Emily Parker's eyes quickly, trying to stay composed. I didn't think it would end like this, Emily Parker said. I gave a small, distant nod. Neither did I replied. That part was true. I hadn't expected things to unfold this way either. But once they did, I accepted it. I keep thinking, maybe if I had just stayed, Emily Parker said softly. I looked at Emily Parker carefully. You didn't, I said. Emily Parker closed Emily Parker's eyes for a second, like trying to escape the reality of that sentence. Jason Carter, is there really nothing left? Emily Parker asked. I didn't hesitate. No, I said again. That word hurt both of us. I could see it. I could feel it. But it didn't change. I'm sorry, Emily Parker said quietly. I nodded once. I know, I replied. And I meant that too. The apology was real. The regret was real. But it came too late. Emily Parker stepped back slowly, like the distance between us finally became real. I hope Jason Carter finds what Jason Carter deserves, Emily Parker said, voice barely steady. I gave a faint nod. I already have, I replied. Emily Parker didn't say anything after that. Emily Parker just turned and walked away, slower this time, like every step carried weight. I watched until Emily Parker disappeared from sight, then I turned in the opposite direction. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel pain. I didn't even feel regret. I just felt done. I didn't win by destroying anyone. That was the part most people didn't understand. Jason Carter, you really turned everything around, Daniel Brooks said one morning as we walked through the office floor. I glanced at Daniel Brooks briefly. I didn't turn anything around, I replied. Daniel Brooks raised an eyebrow. Then what do you call this? Daniel Brooks asked, gesturing toward the busy teams, the steady movement, the energy that filled the building. I looked ahead, calm. I just stopped letting people define my value, I said. Daniel Brooks smiled slightly. That sounds like winning to me, Daniel Brooks said. I didn't argue. Maybe it was. But it wasn't about proving anything to Ryan Steele. It wasn't about making Emily Parker regret anything. It was about becoming someone they couldn't reach anymore. That was the real difference. The company didn't just recover, it grew stronger. Every decision was clearer. Every system worked better. People weren't afraid to speak. They weren't trying to impress. They were focused. And that changed everything. One afternoon, Olivia Brooks walked into my office, holding a report. Jason Carter, take a look at this, Olivia Brooks said. I took the file and skimmed through it. These numbers are solid, I said. Olivia Brooks crossed Olivia Brooks's arms, leaning slightly against the desk. It's more than numbers, Olivia Brooks said. I looked up. What do you mean? I asked. Olivia Brooks smiled faintly. You didn't just rise. Jason Carter transformed, Olivia Brooks said. I held that thought for a second. People keep saying that, I replied. Olivia Brooks shrugged. Because it's true, Olivia Brooks said. I leaned back slightly in my chair. Maybe, I said. Or maybe I just stopped pretending. Olivia Brooks shook Olivia Brooks's head. No, Olivia Brooks said. Jason Carter became someone people actually respect. That word, respect, meant more than anything I used to chase. It wasn't loud. It wasn't forced. It showed in small things. In how people listened. In how they trusted my decisions without questioning my intent. That was something money alone couldn't buy. And for the first time I understood that clearly. Emily Parker's name didn't come up much anymore. Not in meetings. Not in conversations. Not even in my thoughts the way it used to. When it did, it didn't carry pain. It didn't carry anger. It was just a memory. A lesson I learned the hard way. A turning point that forced me to see things I would have ignored forever. One evening, Daniel Brooks and I were sitting in my office after hours. The building was quieter, the lights softer. Can I ask you something? Daniel Brooks said. I nodded. Go ahead, I replied. Daniel Brooks leaned back slightly. If Emily Parker never left, would Jason Carter still become this version? Daniel Brooks asked. The question stayed in the air longer than expected. I didn't answer right away. I thought about it. About everything that happened. About who I used to be. About who I became. Then I spoke. No, I said simply. Daniel Brooks looked at me surprised. No. Daniel Brooks repeated. I shook my head once. No, I said again. Jason Carter would have stayed the same. Daniel Brooks frowned slightly. So all of this came from that? Daniel Brooks asked. I gave a small nod. Yeah, I replied. It did. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Daniel Brooks smiled slightly. That's ironic, Daniel Brooks said. I let out a quiet breath. It is, I agreed. After Daniel Brooks left, I stayed in the office a little longer, looking out at the city lights through the glass window. Everything felt different now. Not because I had more power. Not because I had more control. But because I had clarity. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. Not to Ryan Steele. Not to Emily Parker. Not even to myself. I already knew who I was. And for the first time, I was grateful for the betrayal.